up, guys? It's your boy Alex, and we are back with another video on the Brave Lionheart channel. More specifically, we are back with another anime revival. And since I did my last one, considering it was a review on Pokemon the first movie, this one was actually the next one that was going to be requested. Actually, no, it was requested by you guys, actually. The request you actually got me to, that you want me to do as an anime revival review, is of course on a little not so well-known animated film called Akira. What? You've never heard of Akira? Well, allow me to enlighten you all. Akira was one of the first few anime films to come out in theaters, and yeah, that's a pretty big deal when it comes to anime films and, producing the first one. And surprisingly, it kind of got a few mixed reactions out of some people. Some people liked it, some people hated it. Others, I would say they're kind of in the middle about it. Well, considering not only it being one of the first few anime films to be released in theaters, also most people consider it to be a very violent cartoon, when most people really know that it's an anime film, and usually violent anime films are not particularly for little kids in theaters. But despite that, a lot of people like this movie. Also, before I do start this review, I want to apologize for the thunder outside. It is pouring down hard right now, and it's getting kind of wet outside also, so that's not that good, so I want to apologize for that. But anyway, back to where we were talking about. Surprisingly, this movie was also based on a popular manga series. And with the news of a possible live-action reboot on the way, and we all know how those go when they do a live-action reboot of a classic anime. Apologies for that. So I figured, why not get started on reviewing the original source material? So, without further ado, let's make our way to Neo Tokyo. And yes, that is the name of the setting in this movie, surprisingly. Anyway, let's dive right into our review of Akira. Also, keep in mind, I haven't really fully watched the movie. I've seen people talk about it on YouTube a lot, and I'm just trying to go from memory of what I remember what they talked about the movie, so if there's anything I miss in this review, let me know in the comment section down below. Anyway, so, like I said, our movie begins in the prosperous futuristic city of Neo Tokyo. And it blows up! Did we already skip to the ending of the movie? Huh. Real short movie we have there. No, not really. This is actually, we go back a little bit more to before the city was exploding, where it was filled with a bunch of futuristic motorcycle gangs. Yeah, pretty much in this futuristic city of Tokyo, we have new bikes. Yes, that shows that Tokyo is progressing more than we are in America, with technology, basically. Way to go, Tokyo! You keep at it with your awesome technology. Anyway, we're introduced to some of our main characters for this movie. We have Tetsuo, and we have his best friend, Kaneda. And no, it's not Canada, it's pronounced Kaneda. And I may butcher some Japanese names here and there, so apologies in advance for anyone who's Japanese watching this if I mispronounce the names of the characters. Anyway, Tetsuo and his friend Kaneda are part of a motorcycle gang that basically like to go up and beat the crap out of other motorcycle gangs that are in Neo Tokyo. And also, they're part of a war zone that's been going on for many, many centuries. Yeah, if they knew about the war going on right now, they wouldn't be surprised. Anyway, in the middle of this war zone, we see a random guy take a blue Smurf psychic kid with him, and that random guy dies. I assume he was supposed to be protecting this psychic kid, but he did pretty bad at his job. And surprisingly, this psychic kid is kind of murderous too. So, he decides to basically almost kill Tetsuo by using his psychic powers to blow his bike up and nearly kill him in an explosion. Yeah, great job, kid. Great job. But of course, he's saved by the Blue Smurf Marlon Brando of the movie. Yes, in the English dub, there is a psychic kid that is kind of got a Marlon Brando voice, even though he's supposed to be a kid that's as young as the kid we see almost get killed by Tetsuo, surprisingly. But he's saved in the nick of time, and Tetsuo, almost mispronounced the name, Tetsuo was taken in by the military. Why? I don't know. The movie doesn't explain why the military take him in. And surprisingly, the friends are basically upset that Tetsuo was taken in. But we don't got time for that. We got... almost lost my train of thought. We got school to go to. And how do the teachers and principals basically, talk to our students after almost being killed in a war zone? By having the gym teacher punch the crap out of them. Yeah. Japanese schools can be very, very rough, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you. It can be very, very strict and rough. Oh, and also, Kaneda flirts with a girl for a while. A girl named Kaori, who kind of has a thing in this movie. Kind of has her own subplot going on, but it's not really well explained, and it doesn't really go anywhere. Moving on, we cut to the military base of some general and some scientists. I don't really remember their names, so apologies if I don't know their names in this movie. Anyway, they're studying Tetsuo after the explosion that nearly killed him, and they soon discover that Tetsuo has some hidden psychic abilities inside of him. So, what's the best option? Kill him, of course! Well, the general does explain that supposedly if his psychic powers were unchecked, then it could possibly start up another war, and they don't want that to happen. So before they kill him, they basically put him in isolation for a while, which he easily escapes it. Yeah, turns out this secret military base doesn't have good security in it. And after that, Tetsuo basically meets up back with his friends so he can take Kaori and basically leave them. It's not explained why he wants to leave his friends and not take them out of the city to start a new life, but just takes this random girl that he sort of knows from childhood. Never explained. But before they do leave the city, they're attacked by another murderous bike gang of evil clowns. Yeah. Turns out clowns are more evil in Tokyo. Or Neo-Tokyo, the futuristic Tokyo. Yeah, instead of basically going to kids' parties and cheering up kids, they mercilessly beat the crap out of them and beat them to death. Great job, marketing! Great way to market your clowns for Japan. Anyway, Kaneda basically saves them and Tetsuo, but Tetsuo has some random flashes of images of a person named Akira that, surprise, surprise, he doesn't know, and the military catch up with him again. Yeah. Great way of hiding yourself, Tetsuo. Anyway, cutting back to the military base, Tetsuo is having a very strange nightmare about giant toys coming to life and almost killing him, and a car flexing its muscles and squirting out milk for some reason. Yeah. I can see why people thought this movie was weird when it came out in theaters. Oh, sorry, I almost had to burp there for a second. But anyway, Tetsuo basically uses his psychic powers, or actually no, he cuts himself in the foot, and that scares the nightmare away, which, turns out, was the Psychic Kids. How they made toys come to life? Guess the movie, again, doesn't explain why that happens, and yeah, they can just do that. And of course, after having a near psychic battle with the kids, or basically in the terms of South Park, something like that, the girl the psychic girl basically says that Akira is the most powerful psychic around, and they're looking for him. So what does Tetsuo do? Well, he decides to go and find Akira and basically kill him, proving that he's the better psychic. When he only had his psychic abilities for 2 days, people. Let's keep that in mind. He had his psychic abilities for 2 days and barely used it in this movie. So he wants to prove he's a better psychic than this Akira person, so there's that. But enough about Tetsuo and his psychic powers he's only had for like 2 days so far in this movie. Let's cut back to Kaori and Kaneda, who surprisingly were kidnapped by the military also. Oh yeah, and the rest of the gang in the motorcycle gang that we see in this movie, we never see them for the rest of this movie. Yeah, they just don't show up for the rest of the story. They're just completely gone after this movie. Guessing the writers written them out of existence or something. I don't know. Oh yeah, and there's also this random subplot that Kaori talks about with, Plankton and Amoeba. It goes nowhere. Yeah, most of her dialogue in this movie is just stuff that doesn't really go anywhere or explain the plot or anything. Just some random scenes. Speaking of which, they easily break out of the military base. Once again, the military in Neo-Tokyo have terrible security. Anyway, we cut back to Tetsuo as he is now sporting a pretty dope cape in this movie. And his powers are actually getting quite stronger. As heard in the godly choir that follows his path of destruction, though the godly choir is just a bunch of people randomly shouting "duh" every time they, sing or anything. Yeah, not really sure why that's happening. Oh, also, there's a random subplot in this movie with the cult of Akira. Again, that really goes nowhere, but it has this random old lady shouting about praising Akira, which, again, we don't know about Akira, so this cult is just pointless in the movie, and it makes no sense, and it just pads out the runtime for the film. And that's exactly what we need. More filler for the runtime. Anyway, Tetsuo is on his journey to find Akira, which the girl explains that he was at the baseball stadium that was just now introduced to this movie, and Tetsuo makes his way there. But who else should happen to follow him there but Kaneda, of course, with a satellite laser cannon. That is actually the coolest thing in this movie. And the two of them basically just have a short little fight where Kaneda basically almost kills Tetsuo, but manages to miss, and almost basically break every single container of Akira. Yeah, by the way, Tetsuo found Akira, but it was just a container of embryos for the psychic being that was held inside of them. Oh yeah, and the military have a satellite cannon that basically almost killed Tetsuo, but they actually basically disintegrate his entire arm off. That's surprising. And Tetsuo flies up into space and destroys the satellite completely. Now that is probably the coolest thing you will see in this movie, but it's also questionable and a little over the top. Still though, awesome moment in this movie. So anyway, Tetsuo is sort of wounded from losing his arm completely, and Kaori finds him, basically getting him to the part of the baseball stadium that has a random throne in the middle of it for some reason. And the military basically catch up to try and convince Tetsuo to go back to the base so they can give him more treatment. But Tetsuo isn't having any more of that, and then, all of a sudden, Tetsuo begins his horrifying transformation. Yeah, as it turns out, his psychic abilities are getting too unstable, and his arm has been transforming rapidly after losing it after that satellite cannon, and he transforms into a giant, veiny, bloody, pussy fetus baby. Yeah, he transforms into that. It's never explained what he is or how he transformed into that. Again, Basically, his psychic powers did that, and he basically almost kills Kaneda and Kaori. And that leads us back to the opening of the movie, with Neo Tokyo getting destroyed, basically, by a nuclear explosion, which was caused by Tetsuo. But as it turns out, the Psychic Kids saved Kaori and Kaneda, though they couldn't save Tetsuo or everyone else in the city, and they left the two of them alive to basically repopulate the entire city. Probably gonna have to give them a few years when they grow up so they do that. And what happened to Tetsuo? Well, as it turns out, Akira saved him and now took him into space to become an omnipotent being of the universe. Kind of like the ending of 2001: A Space Odyssey. And that's where the movie ends. No segue to what happened to Kaori or Kaneda. No resolution to if they repopulate the entire city or rebuild it. Nope. Just ends with Tetsuo saying, "I am Tetsuo." Basically saying, I am God of this movie now. Yay? Anyway, there you have it, guys. That was my review of Akira. And yeah, I can see why people have mixed reactions towards this movie. Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain how exactly I feel about this movie, considering it was one of the first ever anime films to ever come out in theaters, and then later on it got a Blu-ray release. Yeah, there's that. I guess because most people who have watched it kind of categorize it under cult classic. And I can kind of agree there. I guess I would say I kind of have mixed feelings about it. Let me just get the good stuff out of the way that this movie does have. One for fact is, the animation is very beautiful. It's that sort of old school classic 90s anime that has a unique kind of like animation style, and I kind of like it for that. And the gory bits that happen in this movie, yeah, there's not a lot of it, but it can get kind of pretty disturbing. More specifically, the transformation that Tetsuo has, surprisingly. And I'll admit, when I saw people talk about it with like the original dub version of it, yeah, the original dub they had for it was pretty bad. Though the Blu-ray recently redubbed the whole thing, and surprisingly for Kaneda, they got the voice of Johnny Young Bosch to voice Kaneda. Actually, that's pretty interesting, considering he is also an anime voice actor, and he's voiced a lot of really cool anime characters, one being Ichigo Kurosaki from Bleach, which is one of my favorite animes to watch. Yeah. But now let's talk about the bad stuff. I think the main problem I do have with this movie is the story itself. It doesn't really explain a lot as much, and there's just, like I said in the review, there's a ton of like subplots in this movie that go nowhere. The cult of Akira goes nowhere. A lot of random stuff that Kaori says don't really go anywhere. They don't even really explain the whole war thing that was going on during the whole movie. Something about a nuclear warfare that was happening, and it just doesn't really explain much as well. And I will say, the ending kind of leaves you on, huh? Doesn't really explain what happens to Kaori and Kaneda after the whole city explodes, and Tetsuo just being the mighty omnipotent being, I'm sorry, I can't say that word for some reason, just being god of the world and space now, with his psychic abilities that he's only had for 2 days. Yeah, even the whole thing with him wanting to become a more powerful psychic being than Akira. Again, keep in mind, he had his abilities for 2 days and barely used them in this entire movie. It wasn't until like the final few minutes of the movie when he started using his psychic abilities. But despite all that, I can like some of the good stuff that this movie does have. So it's kind of a mixed feeling for this movie. So, what do I give Akira as a final score rating? Well, I'm kind of going to be fair and give it a 6.9 out of 10. I was going to give it just a 6 out of 10, but again, there was some good stuff in this movie I did like, animation-wise. Characters were pretty decent, even though, again, some of them don't show up for the rest of the movie. Why was that? So I'm being fair and giving it a 6.9 out of 10. For a first-time anime film that came out in theaters, it's kind of average, honestly. Anyway, with that being said, thank you all for watching this video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell to never miss a new video. And if you have suggestions for animes you want me to review, specifically anime shows or anime films, heck, even live-action based anime, let me know in the comment section down below. With that being said, I will see you awesome guys next time. Laters! Sorry, I messed up my intro. I meant to say I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye. Sorry about that.